matters, matters, TV.com.
Our guest tonight is Laurie Kerkering with the Exton Region Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Laurie.
Hi, Jim. Thanks for having me.
You bet. So you are the president,
Yes.
an employee
Yes.
of the chamber,
Yes.
and we have plenty of time to learn about Exton's specialty and where you fit. But let's look at the bigger picture for a moment. And that has to do with, based on your experience, Laurie, where do you see chambers of commerce fitting in to, the private sector and to some extent even the public sector, say at the state level?
Sure, Jim. It's a great question because chambers were established over 100 years ago and were mostly a gentleman's type of group of people who got together to help the businesses grow. Over time, that has evolved in many ways, and specifically in Pennsylvania, a group of presidents of chambers, including right in Philadelphia and the surrounding counties, Pittsburgh and surrounding counties, have recognized that the growth in Pennsylvania is not as good in the economy as they would like it to be. We rank in the 40s among the states. And even though Chester County, where we live, is very vibrant and one of the top economies, the state as a whole is lagging in a lot of areas. And someone like Rob Wunderling from the Greater Philadelphia Chamber and Guy Shiraki from the Chester County Chamber of Commerce are very instrumental with other associations from the state to come up with really good legislation to help with this. And are really trying to garner the help of smaller regional chambers like the Exton Region Chamber of Commerce and the other 8 chambers in Chester County.
It's a lot.
It is, to really affect that change through that legislative process. And through a lot of investigation, they noticed the 3 different areas of concern that needed addressing was our post-secondary education in the state, the infrastructure, specifically our ports and roads and bridges and airports, and also the health care and the access to it and what that will look in the future.
Right.
So that's how, that's the basis about it. And what I love as they're getting ready to present certain legislation is they're really trying to tap into the community about good ideas. A lot of times we'll sit and we'll watch, Fox News or CNN or, C-SPAN and just say, I think this would be a great idea. And what they're trying to encourage is different associations, including chambers around the state, to hold some of these sessions to get those great ideas to potentially make a change for the better for the economy of Pennsylvania.
Laurie, do you lobby as a Chamber of Commerce for these initiatives?
So that's a very good question. The Exton Region Chamber of Commerce began primarily as a lobbying organization. Exton is a crossroads, and there were 2 gentlemen that saw the need for a bypass to go through the area and worked with Harrisburg to make that happen. Since then, we've become more of an informational, not so much with the advocacy, but have worked with the chambers that do advocate, for instance, the Chester County Chamber of Commerce and the Philadelphia Chamber of Commerce to make those initiatives heard. So as these different Grow PA initiative bills come into play, I do believe we will all embrace that and make those suggestions so that as a greater voice, we will be heard and things will get done.
So let's pick up on your term that you just used, Grow PA. What can you tell us about that?
So again, the Grow PA was just determined by, and I didn't use that word before, that was the name that these organizations throughout the state came up with for the initiatives.
Okay.
So it's basically and of course Pennsylvania is so diverse. Chester County is such a wealthy area But you know, it encompasses the whole state and the chambers of commerce, different associations, schools, you know, different areas of learning all coming together, meet periodically. And I know they just met recently. I haven't had the whole list of what they're trying to present in the spring as of yet, but we will be working with our chamber, the Government Affairs Council, to let that information, or give that information to our members as well. So you'll hear more and more about it, because the need is great, even in an area with a good economy at this point. You know, just the growth, and a lot of our growth has to do with apartments and townhouses, and it's very costly to live in Exton. You know, and some of the people that are coming out of the schools are not making the salaries to be able to even afford to live in Exton. So from this Grow PA will also hopefully come different workforce development type of solutions to help the disparity. We have a lot of businesses in Exton who cannot find qualified people for the manufacturing jobs or skilled labor jobs, and meanwhile they're having to draw from outside of Chester County to get people to come in, as well as a lot of our service industries, the restaurants, the hotels, the retail, where, you know, we're seeing more and more people coming from Philadelphia or Reading, Coatesville to fill these positions, because they can't afford to work and live in Exton. So I think a lot of these different initiatives will trickle down from what's happening in the state to what's happening.
Do you look to create training programs for people to become different types, to fill these different types of roles?
That is a big goal, and I think at our chamber, I can speak for Exton Chamber, we're really good at making connections. I say Connexton because that's what we say. But we have a lot of smaller single proprietor businesses in our chamber for the most part. But the actual community of Exton and the surrounding area and the region, the need for that is really great. And I think I'm blessed to work with a lot of chamber presidents, whether it's the coalition in Philadelphia that is more regional, or the Chester County Alliance, and we are starting to make those or talk about these things that aren't just about like big events in our area or ways to meet people, but actually how can we partner with the Westchester University or Immaculate University to do some of these training programs, or connect with even funding in the state to get the training programs.
Maybe we could just address like a misperception of what people get out of being part of the chamber. I used to just view the Chamber of Commerce as you would just join in the old days you could get healthcare, discounted healthcare, and you could meet people for coffee, lunch, or maybe take a educational class. But that doesn't sound at all like what today's Chamber of Commerce is.
I think it depends on the chamber, okay? Yeah. And I think chambers of commerce have to evolve just like any other organization to meet the needs of the community. At one point, for instance, nonprofit organizations would not even consider joining a chamber of commerce. At this point, we have 15% of our membership is nonprofits, because they see the value that we're trying to get the for-profit businesses and the nonprofit organization communities together to really make the area great. Right now, we unfortunately cannot offer the healthcare to all our single props, but what we are trying to do is find what can be done from our level. Our chamber is very lean and mean. We have 2 paid employees. We really value the volunteerism of our members, and that makes them feel part of our group. And that's what we offer, that opportunity, so that they can see what you do for a living and like you and do business with you, perhaps. But there are other chambers who might have more paid members or more experience, or not experience, but clout in the region that we could partner with to make those differences. Because I think it's great to have, I mean, there's a million networking organizations, right? I mean, you probably belong to 5 or 10 of them. You know, you could go somewhere different every night. The value of that is still there. There's still value, especially for a small business, you know, that can't call an 800 number and say, hey, can you send the accounting department right now, or the marketing department, or the lawyer? They like the chamber becomes their 1-800 number, so they can call and I can say, oh, you need a financial planner? How about Jim Butler? You know, I mean, we are that group of people that help each other out. And I'm probably going on a tangent, but the hope is that we can focus more on something that's more valuable for the region than just 9 different chambers having events. I mean, they're still valuable and I think people still want them, but there's so much more we can do, especially with the workforce. And, you know, at 4.7%, I think it is in Pennsylvania right now. And unemployment, which is really low, but it's still higher than the rest of America. And, you know, and filling those jobs. And like you said, with the Uber, I mean, if those people lose their jobs, what are they going to do? So,
you know, so as a chamber member for many years and in the past, having been a member of several chambers, I think today it's also about relationships, and you touch on that, to be able to have the confidence to be able to call in, and that not only you're going to be able to point me to an area of need, of service, for example, but that's of a quality organization, or at least you hope so.
right.
Unfortunately, the state of the health insurance is such that it's no longer about getting an association plan because they're just not available. Maybe someday, and in PA that might happen and it might not.
Right. And I think that's part of this initiative as well, as one of the pillars of Grow PA. You know, the cost of healthcare is very expensive. You know, people do have access, especially in my area of the state, but it's very expensive, and a lot of single proprietor businesses are having to merge or go out of business because they can't even afford to pay for their health insurance. It's the way it is. So there has to be other ways of delivery or better ideas to make it a little less expensive. If we are paying this, let's make it a little less expensive. You know, there's been discussion at some of our lunches that potentially someday we can go to James Way and get everything, not just our, you know, our flu shot or something, you know, that you'll go there for your mammogram or your CAT scan and that type of thing.
Where is this? James Way?
Yeah,
What's
James Way. I'm not. That was a really old reference. CVS, like so. CVS, like you go to a CVS or a Walmart, like they will be your healthcare. You know, it's going to evolve just like that. The automated car. You know, I mean, things are going to change, and how can we best do it so that we're still able to grow?
Do you see the Grow PA initiative, or just in conversations with some of your colleagues, Laurie, trying to reach out to those areas within the state that are less densely populated, the more rural areas, that certainly have a need for everything that we're talking about?
That is very important, I think, to even, you know, these business leaders and association leaders. And you know, we saw that even with the attempt to change the law, the property tax laws last year, the SB 76, that was not approved because of it lost, but it's still kind of in committee, or it was passed, but it's still in committee. There's a huge disparity between education in this area versus different parts of the state, and it's really affecting the whole health of Pennsylvania. Temple University is working to try to find some ideas with that disparity, but you know, there's less population in Pittsburgh, but they get the same amount of money
it's
that they
crazy.
had before. school districts in our area that are very well funded and are rated very highly do not want to give up their property tax. So there's this, they don't want the coffers. And people that are getting older in our population, they don't want to keep paying the high property tax rates.
That's my mom. She keeps saying that.
Right.
Why should I pay? I don't have kids in school.
There, there's a lot of solutions on the table from the elected officials of how the best way to handle this. But I think having some of these organizations like the chambers and different organizations can help with that as well. Because when there's areas of the country, the state specifically, that don't have broadband access, they don't have the internet,
Right.
don't have even books. My cousin lives in the north central part of the state. It's hard to get people. There's like 100 people there, so.
I have a quick one that I know everyone's interested in, specifically roads.
Mhm.
How can the community, how does the chamber help with the road systems?
So we partner with, again, a lot of the different organizations, and as I said, it took us 12 years when we started 50 years ago, almost 50 years ago. It took us 12 years to get that bypass passed. Mm-hmm. But we work with different organizations like TMAC, which is the Transportation Management of Chester County, and different places around, SEPTA, PennDOT, to try to work with that. We also work with the townships to try to see what can be done about that. Again, there has to be certain laws that or legislation that should be put into place to help us to be able to fund that during the time. But a lot of it, in terms of our chamber, has to do more with the education piece of, this is what they're trying to accomplish right now, and this, if you believe that they should improve the roads, this is what you should do.
One of the things that amazes me about Chester County, which of course is unique to one of 5 counties in the Philadelphia area, Patty, is how much it continues to grow.
Mm-hmm.
For example, King of Prussia, it's exploding. Great Valley area, exploding. Exton Region Chamber, or Exton Region, is just on the verge of starting to really grow, and it's in a rather small area. We were talking earlier about the growth in Philadelphia County.
Mm-hmm.
Where are all these people coming from? It's fascinating, and I think chambers certainly have an opportunity to band together, work together, and to become a more valuable resource, as you've pointed out.
And not just chambers, Jim. There's a lot of organizations in our area that help with that, like the economic development councils, those type of organizations where we partner, instead of competing, partner to get things done. And hopefully that will make a big difference through the state. And when the people do come in, they'll stay, and we won't export students to other states because they can't find the right job, or they can't open a business because of the different regulations and that type of thing. And all that will be addressed in the Grow PA initiatives over the next couple of years.
Right. Well, thank you, Laurie. It's been very informative. Certainly look forward to more excitement to come in Pennsylvania and Chester County, as well as surrounding counties.
Yeah.
Thank you also, Patty Tawadros, Studio X, for being a co-host. It's been a lot of fun. And thank you for watching, and hope you learned something tonight. And until next, our guest coming up on the next show is actually a gentleman whose name is Chris Gilbert. He's an IT expert, so it's a complement to more technology advancements. And until then, your money matters.